the culture of life and the law. We'll explore that and more on today's edition of Life Matters. Brian Johnston is the Western Director of the National Right to Life Committee. He has served in many capacities while advocating for innocent lives, as California Commissioner on Aging, as Chairman of the California Pro-Life Council, on the board of the National Legal Center for the Medically Dependent and Disabled. And now here's our host, Brian Johnston.
Well, welcome back to Life Matters. We're your program on the right to life and what it actually is. We don't talk about feelings here. We will touch on that. We'll talk about babies. We'll explain human nature and the facts of life. But the right to life is a very specific legal question. It's not a religious question. It's a legal issue about a legal right and how is it enforced. We talk about it in detail. We are now in the flotsam and jetsam of the Dobbs decision. And I say that because there's a lot of confusion still, even in the right to life movement. If you never understood fully what the Roe v. Wade decision was, you can't understand what the Dobbs decision has done. And I have found that abortion advocates lied about what Roe really said. We'll talk about that today because many don't understand that you were lied to by the media and by the abortion industry about the real significance of Roe. They lied then, and now that they say they want to restore Roe, they're lying again. It's a lie. You have to understand that there was a lie told to you culturally about Roe v. Wade. We're going to examine Roe in the specifics, and many people just stop and they can't believe it. But it's true. Roe v. Wade never gave a woman the right to choose. It never did. Roe v. Wade was explicit that it would not allow a woman to choose the time or place to terminate her pregnancy in any way that she wanted, in whatever reason that she had. That was specifically prohibited by Justice Blackmun in Roe v. Wade. But you're not told that by the media. And often you're not told that by some of your friends in the pro-life movement. They want you to attack women, to make this about women. Very specifically, let me remind you that what Roe v. Wade did is it took the authority of the state. Each and every individual state has authority given under the Constitution to protect the lives of the vulnerable within their jurisdiction. What's called the compelling state interest to protect lives. That was taken away from the states in 1973. States have this duty to prescribe, to mark out where they will defend lives. That's why there's different states that have different definitions of homicide or vehicular manslaughter. And there's various descriptions of what homicide is. And some of those did at one time deal with the abortion issue. But the issue of abortion in every state, and every state practiced this right to protect lives before 73. But that was taken away. And in 1973, authority was given to one person, the abortionist. It was not given to women. And Roe v. Wade was very explicit about that. Why do you need to know that? Because they say they want to restore Roe v. Wade. But they don't. They're lying still about what Roe v. Wade is and what it is they want. You must cut through that. You must approach this with understanding, with facts. Facts are on our side. But facts are terrible things to waste, and I find that often we do. If we get into the tangents and not the specifics of what Dobbs has done, Dobbs is very simple. I hope you won't be alarmed, but Dobbs doesn't save a single life. Dobbs does not protect a single baby anywhere. Let me go one step further. If you're familiar with American history, I hope you are. And if not, please look it up. But Dobbs is not dissimilar from the Dred Scott decision. Now, if you know the Dred Scott decision, we bemoan that. But what the Dred Scott decision said is, it's up to each and every state. Each and every state has authority to determine if human lives are protected within that state, and if they'll allow human slavery in that state. That's what Dred Scott said. More to the point, and this is coming home to us, it allows other states to interfere on behalf of the rights within their states. It's about states' rights. If you're familiar with the U.S. Constitution, it's Article 4 of the Constitution. It lays out the relationship between the states. And the Dobbs decision said, look, there is no right to an abortion in the Constitution. That was a bad decision in Roe. And taking away the state's authority, remember, the states have authority to protect lives. In fact, they have a duty to protect the lives within their jurisdiction and to outline where they will allow lives to be taken. Many states have the death penalty, and they outline for what reason and how it's to be done. The states have the authority to protect life, and the states have authority to take life. It isn't a doctor's authority. That's why my book dwells down into that it was Roe v. Wade with Doe v. Bolton. They decided to unleash medical killing, something that was illegal in every state until that point. The doctors became killers in Roe and Doe. That's the issue. And states now have that right, but I want to remind you about the history of the states, and you remember the war between the states. I'm going to explain to you that we're not in a dissimilar situation, and the voting that will take place in November is critically important. I talk to far too many pro-lifers who do not get involved in their civic activities and don't vote. It's alarming to me. You must understand the moment we're in, you're going to find out that what we're going through is not dissimilar to the fight over slavery. And specifically, that went according to states. As I said, the Dred Scott decision was about the states' authorities and the responsibility of the states to apply their laws even outside of their states if it applied to their states' authorities. It invoked the Runaway Slave Act, or what was called originally the Fugitive Labor Law. Article 4, Section 2 of the Constitution is what Justice Taney invoked. So the state has authority to protect lives or not, and how they do it is up to the state. And now we are living in a very similar situation, and similar not only to what happened in 1854 with Dred Scott and that decision, giving states their authority to practice their protection or dismissal of life, but more to the point, we're living in the shadow of the Kansas-Nebraska Act, which gave each and every state the authority to determine if they would be a free state or a slave state, if you will recall. Again, please check your history. It is the authority of the states to determine if they're going to be a free state or a pro-life state. It is the authority of the state to determine if they will be a slave state or a pro-abortion state. And that's determined by who is elected in that state. That's determined by the voters. And if you don't know your American history, then please go back and look up the Kansas-Nebraska Act. The voting in those states was critically important. That determined everything. Up until that time, it was the Senate that determined if a state could enter the Union and if it would enter as a free or slave state. That's all changed now on abortion. Now it is up to the states to decide whether they will be a free or pro-life state or a pro-abortion state, and it's determined by how you vote. You as a citizen in your state, you have great authority in your state, and if you don't exercise it, you will not be able to say you're fulfilling your duty as a pro-life individual. This coming election determines what the states will do, and it's going to determine what Congress does. We'll get into that a little bit later, but why Congress's decision to determine how far the federal government reach will be, will they try to restore Roe? As I said, and when we come back, we'll examine, they never had in Roe what they claim. And when they say they're going to restore Roe, they're still lying. Roe did not give the right of a woman to determine whenever and however she does her abortion. It only gave the right and authority to medical killers. And it took it away from the state's authority to protect life. That's what the decision's about. It's about the authority to protect lives in your states. Nowhere is that more clear than in California. And if you're a pro-life individual in the state of California, you need to understand your incredible responsibility to educate others on the right to life and to vote, how to vote on the right to life. It's alarming to me how people think it's about their feelings and they should just get diapers and not be involved in the political world. That isn't how we ended slavery. And it's very important to understand the legal issues that did surround slavery at that time. and to understand the legal issues that do surround abortion in our time. We are living through an incredible moment in American history. Please be prepared for your moment.
Life Matters continues after this.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, CEO of MyPillow. I support this show, and I would like to offer you our biggest discounts for listening. So please go to our website, mypillow.com, and put in the promo code at the end of this message to get the biggest discounts. Again, thanks for listening, and God bless.
I got a pair of my slippers from the MyPillow company. They're incredibly comfortable. I actually wear them out on errands. They're cool in the summer, as well as very warm in the winter. Any MyPillow product, you can get their highest discount when you use the promo code LIFE, L-I-F-E. Very important. Go to MyPillow, any of their many products, use promo code LIFE, all caps, L-I-F-E, LIFE. So go to MyPillow, put in the promo code LIFE, and you'll get some wonderful discounts because Mike Lindell believes in you and because life matters.
And now back to more Life Matters with Brian Johnston.
Welcome back to Life Matters. We're talking about what really happened in the Dobbs decision. And you have to understand that in overturning Roe, you've never been told by the media what Roe really did. In fact, you've been lied to about what Roe did, and you're being lied to about restoring Roe. The media says, and the abortion lobby says, they want to restore Roe. They're still lying. You have to understand that. Let me read to you from Roe v. Wade. This is the writing specifically of Justice Blackmun, and this is what he said. He said, abortion advocates, quote, argue that the woman's right is absolute and that she is entitled to terminate her pregnancy at whatever time and in whatever way and for whatever reason she alone chooses. With this, we do not agree. That's in Roe v. Wade at page 153. So a woman does not have that right. Secondly, he goes on, abortion advocates assert, quote, that one has an unlimited right to do with one's body as one pleases. The court has refused to recognize an unlimited right of this kind in the past. That's Roe v. Wade at page 154. It's denying the right to use your body any way you want. They just denied the right of a woman to do an abortion or have an abortion at any time she chooses. The entirety of the Roe decision rests on the premise that all authority and decision-making for abortion belongs to the physician. The state could not in any way interfere with that decision. Let me read directly from Roe. Quote, the physician is free to determine, without any regulation by the state, if the pregnancy is to be terminated. If that decision is reached, the judgment may be effectuated by an abortion free of interference by the state. That's in Roe v. Wade at line 163. Very specific. It's only the physician that's given the authority. Again, quoting from Roe v. Wade, which the media does not tell you. Quote, the abortion decision in all aspects is inherently and primarily a medical decision. And basic responsibility for it must rest with the physician. That's Roe v. Wade that said that. It's the physician that has authority. It's not the woman. Later, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, in trying to explain this to her feminist allies, explained that it did not give women the right to an abortion and that they were mistaken in asserting that. As she said, another feature of Roe is that Roe isn't really about a woman's choice. It's about the doctor's freedom to practice his profession any way he thinks best. It isn't about women. It's not women-centered. In fact, I want you to hear Ruth Bader Ginsburg trying to explain it to her own feminist allies. I want to remind you, you need to understand Roe. Here's Ruth Bader Ginsburg explaining.
Another feature of Roe is Roe really isn't about the woman's choice, is it? It's about the doctor's freedom to practice his profession as he thinks best. It wasn't woman-centered. It was physician-centered.
Now, aside from what Ruth Bader Ginsburg just said, many abortion-promoting advocates, that are legal advocates concur that the Roe decision never really made any sense. And obviously, after hearing Justice Ginsburg, you can see why. It pretends to give women authority, but gives them none. It gave the state's duty to protect lives or determine which lives are protected. It gave that authority entirely to the abortionist. And it's the Dobbs decision that said, that's wrong. Doctors are not free to kill whenever they decide. It's the state that determines. It's the state that practices the compelling state interest to protect innocent lives and decide where to demark that. How will it be done? It's up to the state legislatures to determine those laws. These facts are clear, but if you don't understand them, you're going to be misled when the media says they just want to restore Roe. That's all they want to do. That is not what the media is really trying to do in trying to bring back Roe. It is not what the abortion industry is really trying to do. They don't want Roe. They just admitted through the mouth of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, they don't really like what Roe did. They do want what Roe had denied, and that is a woman's right to kill that baby whenever she wants to, just in the name of choice. There need be nothing physically wrong with the mother, nothing physically wrong with the child. It's just that we don't want this baby. If men can walk away from their responsibilities for babies, then women, to be free, need to be able to walk away from theirs. And killing the baby is the way to do that, according to the radical abortion mentality. That is what they want. They don't want to terminate pregnancy, and they've admitted that, because every birth terminates a pregnancy. But if it ends in a live birth, that's not their goal. They want the right to end that life. That's what is wanted and being pursued now in the name of Roe v. Wade. They lied about Roe then, and they're lying about Roe now. They do not want to restore Roe versus Wade. You must understand that. Back to what you can do in this election when we return. But you need to understand you're living in a unique moment in history where the state's authority to protect lives has been restored. That means that the voters in that state need to understand. Again, if you've not read about the Nebraska battles, the Kansas-Nebraska Act, and how the voters of that state got to determine whether they would be a pro-slavery or anti-slavery state. If you don't understand that, you don't understand American history, and you don't understand this American moment in which you live. The authority of the state to determine if children will be protected is now at hand in these elections. You must be ready for these. When we come back, we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about Congress and what Congress is trying to do and how your vote will impact Congress. Your vote will impact the U.S. Senate in many states. The Senate is going to determine so much for the future of this nation, and if we will protect human babies in each and every state. There is so much at stake in this election, and that's how we were designed as a nation, to give you a voice. You've been given a republic. If you can keep it, you have to understand how the republic works, and now it's been returned to our hands because of the Dobbs decision.
Life Matters continues after this.
Life Matters is sponsored by the California Pro-Life Council. Would you help us during our pledge drive? It's easy. You can just pledge by text. Using your cell phone, text the word GIVE to 916-347-5644. That's 916-347-5644. This is a text-only line, not a voice line. Once you enter the word GIVE, you'll be able to follow the prompts to pledge, and you can also find out a lot about California Pro-Life. So please, don't do this while driving. Please send a text GIVE, that's GIVE, to 916-347-5644. We'll do the rest. Our opponents get vast sums from the government. We can only look to you and folks like you who take a stand for life. Thanks for your help. That's 916-347-5644. Text the word GIVE. Thanks, you're a lifesaver.
And now back to more Life Matters with Brian Johnston.
Welcome back to Life Matters. We've been talking about the real significance of the Dobbs decision. It's been lost on many pro-lifers. They think babies are now protected. The Dobbs decision does not protect a single baby. You need to understand that. The Dobbs decision simply said, hey, there's no right to an abortion anywhere in this Constitution. It's up to the states to decide how they will protect lives. It's not up to doctors to decide when they're going to kill. That's what Roe said. Roe said that doctors can make the decision as they think best. They were given the authority that should reside with the state. The state has the authority to demarc who will be protected and how. There's various murder statutes in each and every state, homicide laws of varying degrees, and there's various laws that can determine if a human life is taken, what the punishment should be. That's up to the state. The state also has the authority to take lives. Many of you know that some states retain the authority for capital punishment. The state has that authority with due process of law. The Constitution is clear. No one should be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. The Dobbs decision returns us to the Constitution and to the authority that states have been given. So let's now talk about these elections. I spoke earlier. You need to understand what the Dred Scott decision did, how it gave states certain authority, and it allowed other states to intermeddle. This is of great significance for Californians and for the whole nation because our governor and the pro-abortion ideologues in California say they want to bring women from other states to California and to skirt the laws of that state. That's what happened in Dred Scott. They want to be able to skirt the laws of your state. If you're living in a good state, our governor and our radical pro-abortion legislature says, well, if women are protected there, if minors are protected, well, we want to bring those minors here. We'll give them a free holiday. We want to bring women who should be informed and get informed consent. They can come here, and what we tell them, it's all about choice. That's our version of informed consent, and we'll pay for their abortions. We'll fly them here. So California wants to interfere in other states, and that's also what happened in the Dred Scott decision. States' rights were underscored, but the right of some states to interfere and practice their laws was extended, and that, in a sense, is what we have now. As I mentioned, we also have the Kansas-Nebraska Act, where every state's going to determine. So you have to be involved with your election process in your state. I told you I was going to talk about Congress. You already know this, that the radicals in the media, they believe in a strong, controlling, authoritarian form of government. They believe in a progressivist government, a Hegelian, Marxist worldview of the government. I hate to say that, but if you've read Marx, I'm not talking about Russia and people with accents, but don't think of it as a foreign thing. It's an idea that many Americans talk about, and it's being promulgated in our education system, that the government should cure all ills. The government is your answer. We need a mommy government, a daddy government, a government that lets us do whatever we want and provides us with whatever we desire. That is not the American system. And so there's a great hoopla now after Dobbs that the federal government needs to restore Roe. I just got done explaining to you, and if not, go back if you're just catching this program now. Roe versus Wade never gave women the right to choose, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg confirms that. When they say they want to restore Roe, they're lying again. They lied about Roe before. They are lying about Roe now. They want to superimpose what they always wanted, and that is the right to kill a baby, to be unpregnant, the right to not have the encumbrances of childhood and family. And that's what they're passionately pursuing. Congress has threatened, and if they win in Congress, they had a vote on this that they passed in the lower house, but the Senate has stopped it. And that particular bill, H.R. 8296, the so-called Women's Health Protection Act, was passed by Congress. It would prohibit any state from protecting any child in the womb and protecting the lives and health of the mother through pro-life laws. No state nor the federal government would be able to do that in the future. Thankfully, the Senate will not pass it. But if we lose the Senate in the fall, this would become national law. That's why this election is so critical. Make sure that you send back pro-life members of Congress. Make sure that you send back from your state a U.S. senator that will stand for life. If the Senate is lost, then this would become the law of the land. There would be no pro-life laws allowed in any states or by the federal government. The fact is that Senate is not going to let that pass now. That's why they want to take over the Senate in this election. House, if they have the House and the Senate, they will be able to pack the Supreme Court with leftist judges. I did a program earlier on the actual political philosophy of the new Justice Jackson. She is now on the bench. She is the most radical positivist, and by positivism, that refers to the idea that you can make up your own laws. So positing new laws that are untested and unproven is what positivism does in judicial philosophy. The radicals, they don't want their ideas tested. They simply want to force them into law. A natural law, and those who follow a higher law view of a republic and the government and laws know that laws need to be proven effective if you're going to put them in place. It's a very different judicial philosophy. They want to stuff the court with positivist, pro-abortion judges. If that happens, it'll be extremely difficult to keep our nation, because every element of our freedom is first built on the value of each and every human life. But once this happens, they will put in laws and methods that will prevent freedom. So you need to understand this election now, on the heels of the Dobbs decision, has given you great authority in your state, has given you great ability to impact with your vote what will happen in your state. So we can change Congress from California, and in every state that you're in, make sure that you vote. If you have a Senate race, Arizona and many other states have very competitive Senate races, that will determine the future of our nation. You need to understand, in the wake of the Dobbs decision, the states may once again protect the innocent that have been denied to each and every state. The laws and the legal protections that should be extended to those who are innocent that had been denied under Roe v. Wade and given only to doctors. Doctors were licensed to kill in Roe v. Wade. Those of you who know me know that that theme is one I've been trying to pound into people's understanding for a long time. So you need to be involved in the civic process. Our founders have given you that opportunity. We've just reviewed right up to the moment what the Dobbs decision means for us now in each and every state and on the federal level. If you're pro-life, please step up. Be involved in the civics process. Be involved with your local affiliate of the National Right to Life Committee, because they're involved in the civic issue of protecting innocent lives.
Life Matters is a production of the California Pro-Life Council, the state affiliate of National Right to Life.